My name is Ben Dow. I'm the Public Works Director in charge of all of operations for the city of Fargo. Not very many people are aware, but Fargo has a very robust economy, and we're a fast growing community in very different ways. And so we started seeing some significant issues on our seasonal staffing stuff disappearing almost 2 years ago. And so we had to make some significant changes to the point where we can barely find any seasonal staff anymore. And it has now started impacting our full-time staffing to the point where we had people that have worked with us for 10 to 15, 20 years that are now leaving because they're able to leave, even though we're at their topped out step, they're leaving and starting at higher wages, working for contractors locally. And so we're kind of chasing the 8 ball here, trying to figure it out. We've worked through many things.
Hey, how you doing?
But we're seeing that, right now, one of our departments of 50 people, we're short, just that eight folks, and I just got 2 more resignations, so we're moving that to 10. So, it all started really, like I said, with our part-time seasonal about 2 years ago, but in the last year, it started to move forward with our full-time. And since December, we've had 6 openings, and we've been posting repeatedly and putting it out there. And if we do happen to get a candidate and we do an offer, they do go back to their employer they're working for, and we end up losing out, and it just isn't working. So, and the biggest issue is, just like everybody else, we're government agencies. When wages start jumping at $2 to $5 increments, we're unable to adjust that fast. And so we have been placed in a point where our starting pay and even our top pay is relatively anywhere from $2 to $5 behind what it should be. We also, with our local economy being so good, we also are starting a $3.25 billion diversion project in town, which is bringing another 800 to 1,200 jobs that is going to start. It started on the small scale here about 6 months ago, and we're going to see it really ramp up next summer. So let's just pile it all on. We're already having issues. Now let's do that. And that's something that the city pushed and really needed, was this diversion project. And here we got it. And now it's looking at us in the face of, it's going to cause us a lot of problems because it's got a 7 to 8 year build. And how are we going to tackle these staffing issues? We also in Fargo, because we're so flat and we have a lot of wind, and in the wintertime, we get a lot of snow, we have to haul a lot of snow. And so we're seeing our number one thing when people are doing exit interviews, they're putting down the work-life balance. We had a record-setting a year this year where we had 11 blizzards, and our folks worked for 65 days straight with no days off, and nights and weekends and everything like that. So, the old school method of thinking that, they're making overtime, they're doing good, everybody likes the money, that's a changing philosophy that is changing with generations now. And so we're going to have to really figure out how we're going to put our thinking hats on and tackle that, because we're falling behind right now. And as Mitchell talked about, I'm sure Brett will talk about, we're all facing this change in the CDL training and what's going on. We've done a lot of looking around towards the trainers in town here to get some pricing. And, when you're looking at the $6,000 to $8,000 price point to get someone trained up, and you don't know if that person's going to stay with you and what kind of contract can you put with them so they do stay with you, so they don't move on. We're working through that. So those are the challenges we've really faced, but we've gotten creative. And so we are trying to move forward. And, the number one thing, and Mitchell talked about this with his spending, are we posting in the right place? Here you got a 50-year-old guy looking at where postings are going and who are we attracting? And am I the one, or is my admin or my team the right age for the age we're trying to bring in? And I had to take a step back when someone threw that in my face, and I said, you know what, you're right. I'm not the right person. My way of thinking is not the right way. So we have gotten really creative and hired an advertising agency to help us about 2 months ago. So we're getting ready to launch a big campaign there. And we've even gone as far as advertising on our vehicles. You see it on contractors, you see it on everything. Our vehicles are everywhere. We put postings on them with a QR code. Scan this QR code. It gets them right in. They can be sitting behind you in traffic, scan the QR code, and they can have the information. Now, of course, we're not encouraging cell phone use or anything while driving, but getting it out there in the public and seeing it in a different perspective is what we're thinking was our number one change we needed to make. We needed to get away from our traditional postings. That was not going to work, and we just had to take a whole different alternative method. The other thing we did starting in our last budget is we put in a ton of differential pays, from different licenses to different shifts to a swing shift. We looked at everything that was beyond our normal shift from 7 to 3:30 or 8 to 5, 8 to 4:30, and said, okay, we're going to pay a different variation of differential pay for each shift to try and encourage and offset that. I even went as far as broke down between Class A requirements in my job descriptions and Class B job requirements for CDL training. And that was a big thing, because we had a lot of people that didn't want to take the next step and get that Class A. But as soon as we tacked $1 on it, we went from 8 people in the department that had their Class A's to 35. And so in the scope of what it actually costs, it's very minimal. You're thinking $8 a day, $40 a week, but to a family and to a person that's that dollar makes a big difference. So that was an easy pay fix. And so we went after that right away, and the response was just huge. Our employees just gathered towards it. And I know we're holding on to some of those people, because instead of making the base rate, they're able to choose their path and make a little more based on the incentives we're offering by differential pays. We just yesterday got our evaluation approved to change our pay structure. I had to go to the elected officials and let them know and say, hey, we're losing people. Our level of services are going to go down. Our HR department, we have to look at, because when government looks at pay ranges, we generally look at other government agencies. Well, that's not who we're losing people to. We're not losing people to neighboring cities or the DOT or other. In our neck of the woods, we're losing it to contractors or other places of that nature. So we spent a ton of time working with Indeed and pulling the data, and to prove that, hey, what the next door neighbor city is paying is competitive with ours, but our pay and their pay isn't competitive, and we're both falling behind. We need to be really competitive with the actual market that's out there. So that is going in front of our commission on June 13th, and hopefully we got thumbs up on that, and that's just a start. The next thing, like I said, we looked at, we couldn't get any temp seasonal help. And so the money is sitting there. We were up to $20 an hour for our temp seasonal help. And so how are our other competing trades finding people? They're pulling them right as soon as they graduate from high school. Not every person coming out of high school is going to go to college anymore. They're going to go and they're going to be a plumber, and they're going to be an electrician. And our local trades here, they're offering to train those people in-house. So we said, let's take and convert those part-time seasonal temporary dollars into full-time positions that does not require the CDL, and try and capture coming out of the high schools and working with those guidance counselors to bring those people in and do some tours in our operations and say, okay, here's what we have to offer. We can help you get your CDL, which I have that on there. Next is to talk about our CDL training program, getting registered as a CDL training program, finding the way to do the theory online, and paying a few bucks to do that, and then creating our own drivers, in-house trainers for behind the wheel portion. So we are set up. We are ready to do that. As soon as everything, our budget gets locked in for 2023, we're ready to go with our high school graduate program. And hopefully I have 10 positions there. Hopefully I can fill all 10 with folks coming out. And we're not going to worry about signing a contract with those folks. If they stay with us, we hope to build the attitude that, hey, I like working here. I want to stay here. And so they're going to move on to the next position within our organization, not outside our organization. But that is number one force that we have to try and get after is those folks that we're losing out to, again, the other trades. We spent time, we went through and we changed our whole operations on looking at what was the easy, low hanging fruit to start contracting out. We contract almost all our mowing out now because that's the low, easy hanging fruit. There is a bunch of contractors out there, and you'd be surprised if you group all your mowing up into one area, the prices you're going to get. Because it's been relatively surprising to us on how reasonable the prices are, to the point that we can't afford to buy the equipment and staff the part-time temp seasonal to do the mowing, because they work it into their program and they use the same people on the same that they use in the wintertime that we use in the wintertime to do the same services. So they have their folks plowing in the wintertime, and then they mow for us in the summertime and keep them on a salaried position. And again, I'll drop back here is being transparent. One of the things I blew this up with our city administration and our local elected officials right away. In operations, you are usually problem solvers. We don't want to, acknowledge that we might need some help with this. We're going to find a way to fix this. We're going to find a way to get it done. But this was something that getting out in front of it right away. Most elected people, they don't want to lower levels of service. They don't want to drop that. That is something that, most of them run on, that say, hey, I'm going to increase level of service. I'm going to do better. So when you start saying, well, our plowing operation time frames are going to slow down. We're done in 24 hours. We're going to go to 36. We're not going to haul our downtown in 2 days. We're going to have to haul it over the course of 2 weeks. And so that was the number one thing, is just being honest and not trying to cover it up and be the doer, and just say, hey, we're going to need some help on this, and we're going to have to spend some money. So a lot of things going on here. This is probably an hour presentation I could do just on my own, but I tried to throw it on one slide. And any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And creativity, we've done a lot of things that haven't worked, and I hopefully could help people not go down that road. But hopefully we're on the right track now to grab these people that we need to beef up our organization again.
That's fantastic information, Ben. You touched on a lot of things that I think is interesting and innovative. The advertising on the vehicles. I know we talk about pay a lot, but there's something to be said about taking pride in the organization you work for. And I think there's some stuff missing there that we're not tapping into. Particularly, I know this is probably more of an HR discussion here, but especially if you can get almost a homegrown, like the high school graduates who come in, or young college age, come in, they work their way into the system, they train through the academy that you have, they stay put, and they really start taking pride in what they do. There seems to be a little bit of a lack of retention there, because some people just don't feel that the organization is worth staying for. I know pay is a big part of why people work, but there is something else to be said about taking pride in who you work for and where you work. So I think it's really interesting, almost building that homegrown high school graduate type team that can come in and really start making a difference, and seeing what their work can do to make people safe on the roadways.
Yeah,
So
the other thing,
really
David, just one more. I got one more that I kind of slipped and passed by, is we're excited about, is we got in our budget to offer a recruitment bonus for our employees that are working for us already. We have the best advertisers working for us. We have 1,800 employees. If they get one of their brothers, sisters, or come to work for us, it's time for us to pay them a bonus and use those as an advertising place for open positions. So that was one of the biggest ones that we worked hard on, and I think it's going to come out as a success.
Great idea. Yeah. Awesome, Ben. I appreciate your information. There's a question that came in, but we'll if somebody wants to type in the answer now, we can, or we can circle back around. But